Hey, poker players, welcome to the Queens of Poker. We highlight the pioneers, the rising stars, and invite more ladies to claim their seat at the table. Because the future of poker is 50% female, Max plus EV for all players. Hello, and welcome to the Queens of Poker. I'm Juli, Keene, and I'm here with a guest, Andrew Lichtenberger, known as Lucky Chewy. I reached out to Andrew mainly because I had questions about his app, which is mainly based around intuition. And since women in poker poker is a game of getting those little edges where we can. And I think as a woman, we may be encouraged not to listen to our intuition, but I think it's an important part of me and my life and even my poker game. So I really wanted to talk to Andrew about that. And he was kind enough to come on the show. Andrew is a many-year tournament crusher. He is known, I think, from watching him before the Khemset app, which is his app. Go check it out. We'll tell you where later. He was more like a math guy and a logical guy. So seeing the app for me was like fireworks went off. I was like, wow. And then I started digging, and he's very much into some Zen principles and a more holistic view of poker from what I can see. He also helped to get the Octopi app started, which is something that I train on. He's a recent dad and he's building a family. And, we love talking about how do we balance families and a poker life. And he's a pro poker player. So we're going to let him answer some other questions, and I will have everything in the description later if I forget to mention it. Welcome, Andrew. How is it going?
Well, thank you. It's going really well. How are you?
Good. Thank you. We've been trying to schedule this for a while. With my move, it got a little crazy, but I am so excited to talk to you about, well, first of all, you are a family man now. You have one child?
Yep, I have one daughter,
Okay. How old is she?
just about 8 months.
Congratulations. That is
Thank
really
you.
new. How do you
Yeah.
like it?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, babies are pretty demanding, but it's a lot of fun. She's adorable, and when your child smiles at you, it kind of reshapes your whole world, you know?
Yeah, it really has a way of redefining priorities, right?
Well said.
And thank you. When you started poker, there were no wife, no kids, right?
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
tell us a little bit about when you started poker, how you got into it, and that moment when you were like, yes, I'm going to do more of this?
Yeah, sure. I was in high school around the time of the poker boom. I remember watching the Jamie Gold final table at my friend's house, like well into the wee hours of the morning. And it was sort of around that time that, like, some live streams were happening. Like, I remember watching Live at the Bike back then. My friends and I were getting together all the time to play home games. Online poker was sort of in its beginning phases, and I really just took a liking to it. I had always been into games, and I kind of thought, like, well, if I like games and I seem to do well at this card game, like, maybe it's worth pursuing. So, kind of was a slow start, but eventually I realized I actually really do enjoy this. And at some point, I made the decision that I was going to pursue it over college. So I'd gone to Stony Brook University. I had no major. I was kind of floating along. I attended for 3 semesters, the last of which was, like hardly me doing anything. Kind of was already on my way out mentally. But yeah, at that point, traveled around, well, I guess the world a bit, but I moved around the East Coast a little. I started traveling for tournaments around this time. Obviously, started small or slow. And yeah, I just kind of kept doing better online, eventually found some successes live. On my first trip to Vegas, I did pretty well. And then my first World Series, I had a deep run in the main event. At that point, I ended up moving to Vegas. I bought a house with a bunch of bedrooms so my friends could stay with me. And yeah, things really started kind of snowballing at that point.
What was your first tournament?
No, not my first tournament.
Your first WSOP, you jumped in the main?
Yeah.
My God, that's amazing. How many years did you have? A couple of years at that point?
How many years had I been playing poker?
Yeah, like online,
Um,
locally, maybe.
oh,
And you felt, I'm going to go take a chance. And if I'm going, I'm going to play the main
yeah, I mean, I had already been doing pretty well at higher stakes online. I kind of excelled pretty quickly. I think I just
tournaments or cash.
mostly cash, but I did foray into tournaments at a point and realized that that was also a fun format. There was a lot more to learn. Obviously, it's, very dynamic, and there's variable stack sizes and different stages of the event and so on and so forth. So that was all really fun to kind of acquaint myself with.
Okay. So, and then you got into the WSOP Main and you ran deep in your very first one, like, and deep enough to move to Vegas and have your friends move in with you?
Yeah, I got 18th. It was pretty
Wow.
crazy. I had a lot of chips. Can't remember if it was like day 6 or something, but I was like, "Wow, this is pretty neat. First
I
main
saw
event."
it.
Like,
Yeah, I
just
saw it, but I can't remember how close you got. I thought it was like the last 3 or 2 tables for sure.
mhm.
I mean, that's amazing. That is amazing. Very different life from the one you lead now
Yeah,
with the
I was, I guess, more experiencing or more into experiencing, like, being young and having disposable income. I didn't really party very much in I don't know, high school or college. So being in Vegas, like I wanted to go out. I wanted to, I don't know, just like see what this kind of scene, this nightlife scene was all about, but didn't really speak to me to any, I guess, great extent. I did, I don't know, party pretty hard for a couple of years, but sort of decided like, this is not really my thing at a certain point.
That's awesome, because some people go past that line of no return, but, it wasn't that attractive to you. At what point did you decide so you were what, in your mid-20s?
Early 20s.
You had already decided, like, "I'm a pro poker player."
Yeah, at the point in time that I dropped out of college, I sort of made that choice. Like I looked into it enough. I was big part of the 2+2 community. A lot of
Remember?
guys who were in similar situations.
Yeah. For the listeners, that was an online forum back in, like I remember it in, like, maybe 2008, around there, but this might have been earlier than that, right?
It was around that time.
Okay.
Uh, I I mean, they're still around. I don't know to what extent the community is similar or different. I haven't really been engaged in it recently, but yeah, it was great, at that time just to kind of get opinions from people who were in similar situations or who had already like made that jump to playing pro and yeah, just sort of getting a look underneath the hood of like what is this like? That was really helpful. And I met a lot of great people through that community, some of whom I'm still friends with to this day. So yeah, it's cool.
Are most of them still playing poker, do you think?
No, most of
Okay.
them are not.
Yeah. There's not a lot of longevity as far as the amounts of people we see come through versus, like, the ones who stay. I don't feel like it's that high, but, um, you did, which is very interesting and since you decided that's what you wanted to do, right? At what point did you decide to I know you left the partying behind, which I personally think is 80% about why people or maybe 70% why people might not be able to make it and be successful, but there are a lot of other reasons too, and feel free to disagree with me because you lived it, I'm just watching from the outside. Would you say that's
I mean, to me, it's just like having balance in your life. If you go out and get drinks occasionally and that works for you, then that's totally fine. But yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, it's just a kind of an individual thing.
true? And some people do it and they do it well and they've done it for a long time. I mean, there's that underlying, is this person likely or already have some sort of addiction or compulsion that
Sure.
they cannot control with either the alcohol, the drugs, or the gambling, then it's a whole nother creature, right? And
Yeah.
I would say like having a hangover or being drunk is probably the opposite of what we try to do when we're meditating and trying to get in the zone and eat well and get good sleeps. But I didn't hear much about that 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Did you? Like, did you guys?
No, there definitely was like more of a focus on holistic living, wellness practices, sleep hygiene. I mean, you name it. Like this sort of happened over time. When I first got into poker or my first trip to Vegas or what have you, at least if that stuff was like being discussed in the broader culture, I was not aware of it.
Okay, that's interesting because I like to ask you, you were like right there in the middle of it. I didn't hear much either. And I was more like around the periphery and then watching the great players play and stuff because I was raising my kid and had a family, waiting until
she left, then I was going to play. And what did you think when you first came across female players, like at your level, if you did?
I mean, I'd sort of just try to analyze their abilities like any other male player, I suppose. Um, Played with Jen Harmon a bit in that first trip to Vegas, and obviously she's quite savvy, so I kind of already knew about her because I'd watched high stakes poker when I was a bit younger before coming to Vegas. There were some other female players. Vanessa Russo was kind of involved in poker around that time. Not sure who else was around, but
Kathy
yeah,
Lieber
yeah,
back.
Kathy Lee.
This was tournaments, right? Not cash or both.
I played some cash on that trip as well.
Did you ever play with Annette Oberstadt?
Yeah, I did play with her. Think I played with her in the World Series Europe tournament. She ended up winning, or at least I was there on that trip. But yeah, I played with her both online and live at various points.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I remember there were so few women that my eyes would be like pinned on them. Like, oh, there's a woman. And Jen was, yeah, she played. Boy.
Still does.
Did she still play? I didn't know
I think
that.
so. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen her since I moved to Vegas, but I don't play those levels or like I'm not a pro. So that's interesting. Yeah, I would love to see her again and hear from her. Maybe we can get her on the show. But what I found is the pros are never treating me as a woman differently. And I don't think they do in general. I think it's more the rec players. But I'm just wondering if you feel like you need to make any different. Are there assumptions about female players? Do you think they're in their feelings too much? Or have you pretty much decided that you're just looking for their leaks like any other player because it's the same?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I do think like there are archetypal differences probably between male and female. I don't have like nothing jumps out at me as uh like this is a leak women typically have versus men. But
Mhm.
um, I do think that women are more intuitive in general, or they take more easily to intuition. I am always somewhat aware of that. That can be impactful in gameplay. Yeah, I am generally just sort of, trying to play the hand I'm dealt and just make the best decisions I can. Sort of how I
That
approach it.
so it's pretty much there are less women, so you might notice. I mean, you're a guy, so you might notice, but you don't make any big changes. You'd base it more
No.
on where you think their leaks are and where you think you're just watching basically their play, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, in all honesty, most of poker in tournaments, you're not doing like super crazy things. Like, most of it is somewhat straightforward. You're just kind of playing normal, solid poker for the most part.
Mhm.
And to that point, like, whether you're up against a male or a female, a lot of hands, to some extent, play themselves. Like, you get ace eight suited in the hijack, you're going to raise whether it's male or female in the big blind. You get an ace high flop, you're probably going to see bet either way. You know what I mean? So that there's not a huge disparity in how I think or how I've experienced, playing against males and females differently. Although shout out to Kristen Foxen, who's one of the females I play against more often because she's in the higher stakes tournament scene. And I have tried to bluff her on a few occasions and it typically has not gone my way. So
She's so
take that for what
awesome.
it's worth. Yeah.
And did you see her recently on the HCL clips with somebody airball and another player tried to bluff her and she was having none of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was funny.
Relatable.
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. I knew
Yeah.
it's awesome. So I feel like I haven't talked to her yet, but I feel like she might be in touch with her intuition.
Oh, big time.
You think so?
Her and Alex both, to be honest.
They both go with what if they feel that something is coming or working, they're gonna just ride that, right?
Well, I think you get this at the higher levels of poker, where the most successful players, in my opinion, they kind of blend these two worlds of logic, theory, and intuition, emotion. To me, it's not a binary, right? There's like two sides of the same coin.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think that typically, in my experience, the players who do the best, they find a way to harness those softer skills to some extent, and the degree, I should say, that they're willing to rely on those insights and use them during gameplay. Um, that's I guess a slightly more like individualized or stylistic preference, but
Mhm.
there's something there. Like we're all human, right? So we all have this capacity for intuition, and
Mhm.
the degree to which, yeah, you pursue it is sort of up to you.
I like that. That's exactly what I'm been thinking about lately. And I have been using the app, as I told you. That leads us right into, do you think you have a high level of that? Is that why you built the app to train that side and to help other people become aware of it? Or
To a large extent, yeah. I mean, I do think that I am more intuitive in a number of ways. I can recall like early in my career playing online, playing live, where something would just feel off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But yeah, I mean, in this sort of sea of uncertainty, which is poker, right? It's a game of incomplete information. You don't know what your opponents have. You don't know what cards are coming next. As you mentioned earlier, anything that can give you insight or create an edge, opportunity to win more is worth pursuing, of course, within the rules of the game. So, um, yeah, I eventually just started to realize, like, okay, well, I have these insights. I don't know to what extent they're real or fabricated, right? Like, what is the signal to noise ratio when you're starting out exploring something like this? It's easy to kind of gaslight yourself. Yeah, I just kind of kept at it and eventually realized, like, okay, there's definitely something there. I still don't, you know, I can't quantify it in its entirety, but sort of long-winded way of getting back to the question about the app. I don't actually know how effective of a tool it is to train intuition, but I think the concept is fun. And I'm not asking anything of anyone for it. I just wanted to put it out there, because it is representative of kind of my more esoteric views, I guess, on the nature of reality. And I think that there's nothing that refutes the reality of non-local intuition. So I've had some cool experiences playing the app and some with friends as well. And that's fun. And yeah, I just thought it would be interesting because in the community, there are people who talk about these softer skills, but I think for the most part, there's more of a focus on strategy, which is completely understandable, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a structural framework that one, sort of needs to some extent to succeed. And had I not sort of gone through the ringer with that and felt that I gained at least a sort of very passable understanding of game theory, I probably wouldn't have felt as comfortable putting something like this out. Uh,
Hmm.
It's like you climb one mountain, you're like, okay, well, there's another mountain. Maybe I should go climb that mountain too. Get
Yeah.
another nice view and get a more holistic understanding of, the terrain that you're operating within when you're playing poker. So that's kind of I guess, my incentive behind it.
I love it. And the timing is perfect. I have never felt more dumb or lost in poker. Like I always felt like because I spent so many years by myself online, I ground for free for the first couple of years on like ACR step sit and goes where you could like get a bankroll, but you start with like pennies. Because I mean, I had a full life and my daughter didn't sleep much at night. So I would be rocking her and like on the computer, like doing that. I would read books when I could and then solvers. Boom. Now you got to learn all this stuff. And I was like, I've never considered myself a mathematical person, but I did enough to graduate with a science degree in college because I had to if I wanted the degree. Let's say I get poker math to a certain extent, and I did use it in my game because I just don't, I think you need to, but some women don't for sure. And I think some men just aren't there yet. But I was starting to see like what you just said, because I think online we can multi-table and we can see patterns easier. At least I can, and I can see patterns. And I feel it really strongly now since I've been using your app, but I think that might be awareness and I'm letting it in. Like,
Mm.
I don't even know exactly why, but I know it's a setup. I know I have the best hand, but I know it's a setup. No, I just know. And I tell myself, we need to fold. But then if I fold, I'm not going to know if it was true or not. So if it's a smaller tournament and I will, and then I started keeping score, right?
Mm,
I was incorrect. I'm correct a lot of that time, but I
yeah,
don't want to myself, like you said, gaslighting myself. Will you lay down a fold based on that? Will you fold based on that?
sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of again going back to like high performers in poker, I think to a large extent, everybody has this ability of intuition, of trusting yourself, of, being able to navigate uncertainty under pressure. And I think that when you are willing to trust the way that you feel about these situations and train and hone that, it yields greater returns over time. So maybe you're not always going to be completely correct, but maybe in so far as making an error, you gain an insight into a bias you have or some way in which your judgment is skewed. But I think that for me, right, like I can only speak from my own experience, playing poker in a way where you're trusting how you feel about things is a lot more effective than feeling like you're just sort of recalling ideas or moves like it's a multiple choice test. That feels a bit more bland to me. And I think that it has a lower ceiling in terms of what you can accomplish taking that approach. I think you really need to engage in the game and the environment around you and really to feel things out. And that aspect is certainly highlighted in the app, right? It's about feeling. And I think it's interesting that, a lot of people in poker may not have ever just tried that out, just to
Yeah.
sit down, quiet your mind a bit, take some deep breaths and just see if you can feel in that way. It's almost like it's a bit taboo in some sense, but I think in ancient
Yeah.
cultures, this was commonplace, if not, sort of heralded to some extent.
Yeah. And they kind of revered the people who like had the ability, right? Maybe
Oracle of
even,
Delphi.
wait, sorry.
I just know that Oracle of Delphi is like a famous historical figure. I don't know exactly what she was about. Yeah, I mean, there
Right.
were definitely people who had these insights that were cherished by the community. I'm
That's
not an
really
oracle, for the record. At least I don't
yeah,
think I am.
good to know. Not that I want to be playing against you, but
Well, I do think that over time, my ability to feel out situations, it grows, it evolves, it expands in its own ways, and that's really fun and exciting too. I actually just put out a video last night that I think you probably would really like. It's about, kind of getting the mixes right, where in poker a lot of decisions are mixed, and we all kind of know that, right? It's like, oh, okay, you could do this or you could do that, and it's context dependent. And I feel like in a tournament, being able to navigate uncertainty down to the end, there's a lot to be said for, deciding like, okay, is this the time I'm going to three bet queen 10 suited or am I just going to call with it? And being able to you just sort of feel your way through that. Yeah, it can be very profound, right? You three bet and fold out a king 10 where you would have lost a large pot on a 10 high board. Of course, you don't know in advance what's going to happen here. Or maybe you call and you keep in an 8-9 suited and then you win a big pot against that. And this is where I think intuition's so fascinating, right? Because it's that perspective that's at the top of the mountain. It can see everything. It's not obstructed like the ego mind is. So being able to tap into and harness and hone and trust that insight, yeah, I mean, it can be quite profound.
okay. Is it on your YouTube or something? Where can we find?
Yeah, I posted the video on X last night.
Okay. I definitely want to see that because that's exactly what I was going to ask you is what percentage is that of your overall game? It must have gotten bigger. And do you have any examples? And that's what you were just bringing up.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to ascribe a percentage to my game. I mean, I just think that the more tools you have in your toolbox, the more likely it is you're going to succeed. I mean, understanding the structure of the game, like game theory, it's big, right? Understanding like what types of hands want to aggress or when your range wants to aggress, what types of bet sizes you typically want to use, like what are the preferences and incentives that exist within that structure. I think that's a necessary part
Mhm.
of succeeding at a high level in poker. But then implementing and executing all of that, that's where the softer skills come into play. So it's hard for me to like, yeah, I'm not sure how to ascribe a percentage to it
I
all.
wasn't hold you to it, but of course, I think about that. I think about that when I go into a tournament or into a stage of a tournament and I'm overthinking it.
Mm,
And I'm like, well, the solver would say this and this guy's doing that. And like I'm overthinking. That's exactly where I don't want to be.
for
When
sure.
I best is when it feels like I'm almost on autopilot, which I've done much more successfully online.
Well, you're in a
Listening
flow state, right?
I think so. That flow state. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've seen other people play like Jessica Veerling a couple years ago at the LAPC, it might have been. No, WSOP. circuit. She went through some personal stuff, talks about it here, and then she showed up at the last minute at a final table that was on the live stream, and she just acted like a boss. And I feel like she was in an emotional surrender, and we did discuss it, and that it just came to her. Like, I feel like she had been doing some coaching and some mindset coaching. I think some of those things were right on, but they weren't like completely solver. I think she just knew, and she knew the guys she was playing with pretty much. And I've seen people do that. I've seen you look like you're doing it at tables, but of course you're not talking about it. So how do we get there? How do we get ourselves back there? That's what I've been struggling with also.
I think
How
like
can
anything, it's just
Yeah.
practicing it. Again, that's why I thought maybe the app could be interesting for people, just to give it a shot, just to kind of, let it be like a signpost of like, hey, this ability is real. You have it as much as anybody else does. And the degree to which you experience it in your reality um, kind of depends on how much energy you put forth towards it. I mean, I guess the first thing is, just for anyone that wants to improve their intuition, is just understanding that you can actually do so. I think that's a sort of necessary starting point. And yeah, beyond that, you just sort of have to trust the process to an extent because it's a very interpersonal one, right? Like no one else can tell you what those inner signals were. No one else can feel what you are feeling. So this happens sometimes or has happened in the past where I'm either telling someone about a hand I played or they're telling me. And sometimes these more kind of granular aspects, it's hard to fully convey them. And then sometimes if you can't, it's almost like, well, you're sort of asking me for advice on something that I can't, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, okay, well, I really felt this guy was weak. It's like, all right, well, I can't feel that because I wasn't there with you when you played the hand. So, to whatever extent that was accurate, I mean, yeah, like go for it, I suppose.
Yeah, sometimes it's a bias. Sometimes it's, I don't like the guy.
And
Did
that's the
something
tricky part.
beautiful. Yeah. And sometimes I'm doing it less often. I wouldn't even acknowledge it. I just push it out. No, that's ridiculous. You're not folding here. You're not raising there. You're not. But yeah, your app has sort of legitimized it because I think early on we listen, at least I do, to what people say. I'm learning not to listen so much. I had a guy just, why would you ever call that? You're so behind your blood. And I'm like, I don't know. I just knew it was coming. I felt it was coming. He's like, oh, are you on your period? Something stupid. And I felt embarrassed kind of, but then I knew like he lost a big pot. So he's just maybe
Well, he was embarrassed probably.
yeah, he's angry that happened and that I called. And then I had a coach in another hand say, I don't think you should really just trust your feelings for that. You need to go back to the math and I don't know that that's true for everybody,
Well, I
right?
think it really speaks to the type of style that you want to play poker with. Because poker's a game and it should be fun. And if your style um, is less math based and more feel based, then you should play in a way that works for you. Because it doesn't make sense to try to fit the square peg into the round hole. Like if it's just not who you are at that
Mhm.
point in your career, and maybe it never will be. Like, what do you gain from not sort of playing and living in an authentic way? I think nothing. Just just doesn't really work.
People might feel they're being like in the safe area, the science or the logic. And I feel like that's where men and women seem to differ in their styles of play. But I really do think, like for me personally, not being so strong in math, although that gets stronger from 20 years of
Sure.
practice. I
Yeah.
think I just know like outs and that basic math is simple to me. Solvers, it took me about 5, 6 years of studying with women and drilling and stuff to get it a little more, but it's nothing without the context of what's going on at the table, what's your position, like all that stuff. I know we drill spots and phases of the tournament and stack sizes, but for me, it just has to be part of the overall, what you said, the flow state. I like that. The flow, I've heard you say that before. The Zen, I'm into the stream of all the energy around me, right? And
You're
so,
a
yeah,
participant in your reality and you can feel what is happening around you. Um,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
think, it's interesting you bring up this example of like calling with a worse hand and beating your opponent. And I do feel like, so I'll just sort of go on a brief tangent. My wife and I attended a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat, and that was really insightful for me. It was a lot of fun. We met some great people on that trip. But over the course of the week, I realized how his philosophy works, right? And it's largely about coherence and order, and how when you have coherence and in the field, in your field, it creates more order, and having more order can lead to more information.
In
So that
your
was
energy.
really
When you have coherence in your energy field, is that what you
correct.
meant?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And yeah, when you don't have that inner resistance or conflict and that coherence comes forth and there's more order, and by proxy of that, more information, it makes sense that you could gain insight into things that are probabilistically likely in that moment, in that one-off scenario, compared to just sort of in general. And especially so in poker, because it's like a co-creative experience, maybe you sense that your opponent is at times incoherent for whatever reason. And this is again why I feel that luck is largely misunderstood. I don't think that there is as much randomness as we ascribe to it. I think that it is more heavily based on coherence or lack thereof in a broader sense. Sometimes it's sort of like the energy you bring leading up to the all-in confrontation. Sometimes it can just be that, like, you have to be calm when the cards are being run out, and yeah, I don't really understand like the sort of finer aspects of metaphysics and how these play into things, but yeah, it's kind of like I've seen too much. Like I can't like grok it without feeling as if there is more clarity to be unearthed on this topic. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, but I think you're a pioneer in this for poker for sure. And why don't we bring up your app? He's going to
Sure.
do it on his screen because I'm not very techy. Didn't want to have it. It kept like disappearing. So go ahead, and if you could run through it so people who haven't seen it can see it. And I've been using
Yeah.
it. I don't have to do everything by hand, which
Yeah,
is
well,
nice.
why don't we have some fun playing it? So the brand is Khemset, sort of in homage to the land of Khem, ancient Egypt. Here's Tote, the ibis-headed god, just sort of a fascinating historical figure that I find
Nice.
intriguing. And insofar as the trainer, it's quite simple. Essentially, it's a deck of cards that has been shuffled. You get scored based on how well you're able to predict the cards coming next. So you get 1 point for the suit, you get 3 for the rank, and you get 13 for a perfect. And then as you pick cards, they'll then get grayed out so that you can't pick a card that has a 0% probability of coming out. So yeah, like this is sort of cool. I've never had someone show this much interest in the app.
I
What do you
told you I
feel?
was using it. I was into it.
Yeah.
I think people are using it, and I think more will be when they know that it's out there.
Yeah. So just as I'm kind of like staring at the screen, one of the ways in which I sometimes like to interface with it is sort of like look around at the different cards, the suits typically first, and just sort of feel like which one seems as if it's more likely. Um, yeah, for whatever reason, it's feeling more like
Mhm.
a club at this moment.
Okay.
Maybe a spade. It does feel like a black card.
Okay.
I was feeling diamonds initially, and then it started to
Really?
shift.
Okay.
Uh,
That
m-
happens.
Maybe I should go with the first instinct. Here, let's trust your intuition here.
All right.
It was the king of hearts.
Where do you see? Oh, I see it up there. Okay.
It
So
just
it's
came.
still.
So there's a bug where sometimes the first card doesn't get displayed, but like,
Oh, okay. It was
yeah.
close
So
though. So hearts, not diamonds, but they were red, so that's something. We get a point,
yeah,
right? Did we get a
I
point?
suppose.
Yeah. Closer than
Uh,
clubs, which is all the way across.
that was close.
There's a diamond. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we play against each other, or it's a thing you do by yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it can be played. However, I at one point thought it might be fun to have events where it's like a tournament and you go head to head.
So too.
Yeah, I think that could be fascinating, but I just generally think this is sort of the direction that humanity is going in, is to be more aware in a general sense, and part of that is more subtle aspects of reality. So, inner impulses, insights, intuitions that they don't like jump out and yell at you. It's not someone with a bullhorn. You have to kind of get quiet and really feel. Like that's the basis of it, is to open your heart and feel. And I think the world could just generally use more of that. I don't see how that would
Mhm.
be problematic per se.
Yeah, I agree. Personally, I don't I ask men this and I ask women, I feel more affected by people's energy at the table. So I have to work hard I have to do a meditation with the force field around me, and the good can come in and the bad bounces off. Sounds crazy to most people, but
I mean, if it works for you, that's all that really matters.
and sometimes I will open up the app just so I'm listening to the dealer, I'm listening and I'm watching, but sometimes if it's a long going through counting or chips or a hand or something, or it's a break, I will open up the app and just try to get back to my intuition where I can start feeling like where things are going. Cause I know that's quieting me down and hopefully cleaning my energy. Right.
Yeah. I mean, again, like it really, to me, all of these practices, all of these things, it's just like if they work for you, then you should use them. And if they don't, then you shouldn't. I just maintain I maintain that philosophy kind of across the board. There are some things that, like getting the right amount of sleep before you play or eating the right foods. I mean, these are sort of like generally well accepted, but
Mhm.
I mean, I've had cases where it doesn't happen often, but it's like, okay, I just want to eat a brownie for dinner right now in the midst of this high stakes tournament. I don't know why, but my body is really telling me like that's what you should do. And yeah, I just think like in a broader sense, all of this really just comes down to trusting yourself and knowing that your flow knows where you need to go. And if you can get in touch with that, then even if it doesn't make sense or it feels weird or you can't like fully sort of logically back engineer it, I just think it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving.
Totally. Now, and I love the nutrition thing too, especially with like sugar and carbs. And I'm actually a 30-year clinical nutritionist. So I'm
Oh,
interested
cool.
in that.
Yeah.
It would be best. I've done this. I work with athletes too. I have like elite athletes, and I have them wear a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, heart rate. We've been doing that for years. I do lab testing, but I think doing that, and I've worked with poker players, they do a lot better when they're eating correctly and getting their
Oh, yeah.
nutrients. But I think it would be interesting to watch. Heart rate would be kind of interesting, but if they can calm themselves down when they're starting to get stressed, but also blood sugar. What does happen after you eat a brownie, and what's your brain function like 30 minutes
Right.
later, hour later, compared to an elite athlete who's now hitting a wall, carbohydrate or a sugar wall,
For
right?
sure. Yeah. I mean, I generally don't condone or recommend eating sweets like
Yeah.
while you're playing because it can lead to that crash. I was just making a point more so that, as a one off,
Mhm.
sometimes it just can, maybe you're testing yourself to see if like you're actually just going to do the thing that you feel like you should. Um, and there
No,
might not,
I do. I'm like, I need a candy bar. I'm tired. I
right.
haven't eaten. I'm getting a candy bar and the break is in 20 minutes. Like I will do that.
Yeah, but
So
generally speaking, I'm with you. I do better when I'm eating clean, just
Mhm.
simple whole foods.
Yes.
And the heart rate variability is interesting. I think that does have a distinct link, or it's a biomarker which can indicate coherence or lack thereof. I feel like part of it is how quickly you can up or downshift, I guess, your nervous system in response to significant stimuli during gameplay. And yeah, it's not to me about sort of maintaining like a low resting heart rate at all times. Like sometimes it's intense and it's okay if your heart rate goes up. Yeah, because it's just like, okay, there's just more intensity in the situation. Maybe it would be better if it never happened. I'm not sure, but typically that's not how I
Yeah, I didn't think so.
interface with the game. It
Yeah.
feels like,
Yeah.
okay, there's high octane moments, like whether you have a good or a bad hand, if the pot is being built, there's just like a gravity to it. I think it's at the very least acceptable to have a physiological response to that.
Hmm.
The
For
degree
sure.
to which that happens, might want to be tempered. Like you don't want to be sweating bullets and like, on the brink of a heart
Right.
attack. If that's not ideal.
And I think if you win a big pot, you're supposed to be like jazzed, like get up. There should be some sort of a dopamine hit, but not such a strong one that you're then chasing it, or when you're not playing, you are below your dopamine and your serotonin levels. Like you have to be able to get there with nothing, right?
It's
Sitting
ideal. It's definitely
in,
ideal.
you have to be able to connect and calm things down and look at the sky and the fresh air and be grateful and get it from that. But that is so hard when you've been in like a tournament and you hear slot machines and just the cigarettes, like all of it, the noise, it's a lot. So I
Yeah.
am with you on the balance, right? Which we're getting there. I didn't hear any of it before. Show us. I know you have been. Sorry, I didn't mean to take away from the app.
Oh
How
yeah, no worries.
you would train on this, or how you use it.
Yeah,
Boost.
so I mean,
Uh,
basically the way that I do it is I'm just sort of looking through the board and feeling like, you know, literally with my heart, like feeling the sort of openness in my chest and just letting it guide me, like what feels like it is more likely to be accurate. And you can get a sense, you can get a distinct non-physical sense of, what, like, how do these cards feel different, even if there's this apparent randomness and it's meant to just be, one of the bunch. I just think that's a worthwhile exercise. And yeah, I don't know how strongly it relates to poker directly, but I just think as an aspect of uncovering more of who you are, it's interesting to me.
And both. And maybe what you said, opening the heart, not thinking from my head always about probabilities, minimum defensive frequency, and just feeling the energy, like trying to get in there and go, oh, it's going to be.
Yes,
I,
and I do think, sorry to interrupt, in a poker sense, once you understand the framework strategically to some extent, I do
Mhm.
think that it is a lot more effective to let your soft skills guide you in implementing. It's okay to go through that logical process step by step, and more than okay. I mean, it's wise, but I do think that the kind of completing the circuit requires you to be able to take what you know and let it be kind of creatively implemented based on just that unique moment that you're in, which is never going to happen again.
What might that look like for anybody who wouldn't, might that look like, oh, I think I'm going to hit my diamond, or I think I'm going to win. Like, can you describe? I don't know if you can, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of it more in the sense of as opposed to trying to get a sense of like when you're going to make your draw or not, having a structural understanding of the game. I mean, math is a part of poker, right? So, like, if you're not getting the right odds, that's a pretty good barometer of, in general, whether or not you should commit your chips to a draw. However, if you're honest with yourself and you feel like you did in that one instance where okay, you played a lot of hands over many years, and this one feels different for whatever reason. Okay, maybe you do trust that. But I guess what I'm getting at is it's really just about the mixed decisions because once you understand poker theory well enough to kind of understand, like, okay, these are the hands you play, these are the raise sizes, that makes sense. And like, really, like, breaking down the nuts and bolts of why these aspects of the game exist in the way that they do. For me, the implementation is just all about the soft skills. It's just okay, is this 10-9 suited when I should three bet or just call? And that to me is really kind of the most fun part because you're on this like spontaneous creative adventure where if you make the right move, like if you three bet when your opponent has ace 10 off and they're going to fold, you kind of like build up this momentum and like your table image and your uh, likely future success or luck is um, it's expanded when you get those mixes right. And yeah, I just
Mhm.
feel very strongly that this is kind of how you unearth the gold at the poker table.
Love that. That is gold because I feel like it's getting close to grasping that. But then you're like, is this just crazy psychic? No, it's really not. I
No,
think
you're
you're.
just feeling. It's just like literally you have a hand, you're going to play. Just being honest with yourself, like what feels better? Do I want to play it aggressively or passively? And the point is not to always get it right. The point is to get more in touch with that signal. So if it was wrong, you're going to get the feedback and you're going to learn and you're going to have more insight into what those internal processes look like and what they mean for you.
Do you think at your level, most players have already come to realize this or not really?
Yeah, so I think more players have this ability than you might think, just
Hmm.
because, again, you're sitting around the table for so many hours on end. It's just kind of a natural part of success. But there are players who lean more in this direction, players who lean less in this direction. I try to strike the balance as close as I can down the middle because, as much as it's funny you mentioned, like, oh, you used to think I was like a math guy. A lot of people think that. A lot of people now
Mhm.
think I'm like a crazy hippie. And different people think I'm like different things, but
Mhm.
I really do seek to find true balance between these different aspects because I see that they're synergistic. There's a harmony between them. And I'm not looking to like shun game theory, nor am I looking to, get rid of intuition or other soft skills. I think that it's about finding, for me at least, my process in poker and the way I like to play and the way I think is most effective is striking a balance between the two.
I love that. And it makes tournaments seem to me more fun, more creative, not so I just got to wait for the right hands. And when they don't
Yes,
happen and solver says I fold, then I fold. Well, at my level, there are people who don't even know what they don't know yet. And I still don't know what I don't know.
sure.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not a
None of us do.
yeah, but I mean, I at this point feel like I have enough experience and enough training, and that's solid enough at the level I play at. And now I have to let that other part in, which I have been for a couple of years, and it's starting to integrate now where I can not be so focused on one part or the other, you know?
Yeah.
Do- Sorry, go ahead.
It's good.
Then
No,
I
no.
have a question.
No, go ahead.
This is one of the ones I had written down. So this reminds me a little bit of roulette. Like, let's say the first one was a king of clubs, and you just, like you did earlier, when you're playing on roulette or this thing, and you see that a lot of clubs are hitting, or I'm at a poker tournament and I see that, wow, tens have been holding up every time against better hands, against worse hands, and the boards keep running out with ones and twos. That's just what I've seen in the last hour, maybe, right? Because that changes through the tournament for me. Is it then easier to tell, to be correct when to me, it seems like once the first one is right, I can build that momentum, something you said earlier, and I'm better at picking them, or is that part of the app or
So the question is like, if in poker, like tens are coming out a lot, should you play hands with tens in them more often?
no, like, do you notice that it was on the line of that motivation? And I don't know the exact question is kind of when you've been right about the first one, do you think then usually it's easier to be right about the second one? Let's say, and then
Okay, fair. Yeah.
that could be extrapolated to poker, I think.
I mean, yeah, I think like generally just being on point is likely to continue to yield positive returns. I think that it's more so if, you didn't just kind of like haphazardly pick, but you really felt it. If you can replicate that feeling, that the state of being is really kind of primary or precedent, more accurately said, to any of this stuff because that's something that you really do have agency over. Like you can make the choice of how you want to show up in your life and anything you do. So if you get that insight, you feel like there's something real there and you can replicate that. Sure, yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't likely continue to offer positive returns.
Or just be a little more likely that, and maybe it's just I trusted myself on the first one. It was right. So now
Maybe.
more stronger about, I feel stronger about trusting
Yeah.
myself with it. Do you ever tilt at the tables? Do you ever where the noise and then it's affecting your game, or that doesn't happen anymore or
I
never did?
don't really tilt, but what I would say that sometimes happens for me is I can get thrown off if I feel like I have, become uncalibrated or incoherent or what have you for any number of reasons.
You-
Thrown off, yeah. Where
uh,
I feel like I'm not plugged in and I'm not
That
capable of playing at my best. And sometimes that can lead to like a feeling of like being perplexed. And I'll like
Mhm.
want to sort of like reflect in the moment, but that can detract from the present moment of playing the next hand. So like I don't tilt in the sense that I'm not going to like get angry and like monkey shove my chips in with some bad hand. That's just not simply not a reality that I need to
Did you
experience.
ever do that? Was never an issue or
Pretty much not. I mean, there's just no like once you understand that there's nothing really to be gained from that, then I don't know, there's just like no incentive really. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more or less focused at times.
interesting? And is there anything you do to get it back, or you just say, "No, I'm here now. I'll think about that later." Going
Yeah,
forward?
just recentering yourself, taking a couple deep breaths. I mean, again, all the simple things that we, kind of all know work well.
Yeah, being a professional about
Yeah.
your play and not letting. Yeah, I think Ruth Hall said, "I just don't let emotions into my game." That was a new one for me, especially the first couple of years. But I was online, so I could scream cuss words and throw my computer, do whatever I wanted. I learned pretty
Yeah.
quick that was not making me good at poker or want to do.
Can train the wrong habits, like the wrong like neural pathways. It's like X thing happens and then you want to make like a barbaric like move in your
Yeah,
physical reality. It's just not ideal.
exactly.
I
So I just go ahead. Go ahead,
I was just
please.
say I prefer to deal with losses like water off a duck's back if at all possible. Just kind of accept that like, okay, this did not go your way. So be it.
Yes,
Just like don't look to, because again, you have agency. You get to decide how much you want to let things affect you. The more you let it affect you, the more impactful it's going to be. Uh, so just
I
a
love
choice,
that.
really.
And just knowing that I can't I can't change variance. I can't change what if I played bad, I get mad at myself a lot. I can't change. It's a game. It's supposed to be fun for me. I'm a rec player. But and I'm not playing I can't play it thinking I'm going to win because then there's expectations and disappointment. I think poker is a great metaphor for life
Yeah,
and
I agree.
becoming a grown up at any age. And so I wanted to touch on this is free, right? And
Mhm.
anybody can
Yeah,
go download it and use it. And do you have an email list? No,
I do. Yeah. So I have a website, luckychewy.com. There's a Khemset section that links to the app. I also do private coaching and I've been trying to get more into keynote speaking, which I've enjoyed the times I've done it. And then I also have a holistic poker handbook that's also free. And if you sign up for that on the homepage, then you'll be on the email list. And I'm actually doing a Khemset event at Mount Charleston, north of
Oh,
Las Vegas on May 2nd. I sent it
awesome.
out to the email list and I put a Stripe link in that was invalid. So, learning the woes of small
Bad.
business, I guess.
The
Yeah.
straight. So that's to prepay or get on the list or something.
Yeah. I think there's 5 or 6 people currently. We capped it at 20. It's in
Is
about
it a
6 or 7 weeks.
hike or what is the event? Can you tell?
So I really want it to be kind of about the Chemset philosophy and try to bring people into some of the practices I think that, work well for cultivating this mindset and this coherence. We might do a walk outside. I consider doing a hike. I mean, I'm open to whatever. Like if that's something people really want to do, obviously it's a beautiful place.
Mhm.
It would take up a large portion of the day. I was thinking
Yeah.
we would do some kind of like brief discussion and sharing of ideas, and then a little bit of like group coherence, breathing type activities, then play the game as a group. And then my wife is co-instructing with me. She taught Tai Chi and Qigong for many years, and I want her to, well, she wants to take everyone through a Qigong lesson or group experience. And I'm curious to see how everyone's experience playing the game might differ thereafter. She's
Mhm.
also an acupuncturist and we might do some acupuncture, but there will generally be some insights on nervous system regulation and Chinese medical philosophy and kind of how all of these things tie together and yeah, how they can just help you live a more fulfilling, authentic life.
Wow. I didn't even know about that. I'm behind on my emails, but if I
That's
can't
okay.
find, I'll let you know. So, does your wife practice here locally?
Yeah, she has a clinic, Acupuncture Vegas, in the
Okay.
Sahara Lakes.
Yeah, I need an acupuncturist. I moved here from LA, so that's good to know. Um,
Well, how cool is
acupuncture.
that?
Yeah, very. It's meant to be acupuncture Vegas, right?
Yeah,
And then, yeah, no, I didn't want to go on a hike. I want to. It's a long story, but a lot of people meet up for hiking, and some of them are too strenuous, especially when it's really hot.
yeah.
I
I mean,
know
it is beautiful out there. I
being
love
in
hiking in general, but I thought it would be better to just kind of keep it more low key, have a nice room that we'll use for the day. It'll run from around 10 to 5.
for years or all kinds.
I think there will probably be overlap from a poker crowd because that's just largely what my audience is, people who know me from poker. But I don't really plan on making it an event about poker. And the reason I actually thought that this would be of interest is I've taught quite a few live poker workshops and people typically have a great time. What I've noticed is that there's less of an interest in sort of the nuts and bolts, the game theory, delving into these nuances, and more of an interest in like, okay, we're sitting around the table, we're playing, we're interacting. So I was like, well, let's just see how this goes to sort of use this as a template and share ideas in a space where it's actually not focused on poker. It's sort of all the things that are ancillary to poker success, sans the strategy.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's exactly that nutrition component and blood sugar, but also like energy, acupuncture, opening up the meridians, like all of that stuff. Awesome.
Yeah,
That's cool. Does your wife play poker? Probably good, right?
I suppose it helps that there's someone to look after the baby when I'm playing.
That's true. But she's very supportive. When she met you, you were playing, right?
Yeah, she's amazing. She's really, to her credit, dealt with the volatility well over time. And yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody, right? Like, poker's a weird, off the cuff kind of lifestyle, but
Yes.
uh, she being a sort of metaphysician herself in certain
Mhm.
ways, she can
Yes.
appreciate it. She understands the subtle energies of, kind of who you show up as determines your success. And yeah, she's very tapped in. She's an amazing woman. That's why I married her. So,
What's her name?
Elisa.
Lisa, shout out to Elisa. And if you guys need an acupuncturist and you're in Vegas, you heard it here. I have so much more, but maybe we'll do another one because I don't want to take any more of your time. I've took so much. It looks like you've been able to balance life as a professional poker player with a wife and a baby, and I just love all of it. I love the direction you're going in. I love that you're not a math person. You are more of like a holistically based person. We all need to learn math and theory and all that. Everything you said was amazing. Did we leave anything out here that you wanted to add or touch on?
No, I don't think so. I'll just add one closing note on that, which is, I genuinely do enjoy poker theory. I find it fascinating how that dimension of problem solving works. I don't feel as if it's like a laborious process to uncover those ideas. I want to know them. I just don't want to be entirely beholden to them. And I think that flexibility, malleability, creativity, um, again, I think that's just where the real fruit is in being able to excel in poker.
I love that. About your coaching.
Mhm.
So you do a good amount of one-on-one coaching, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Do you have a set like program or do you make it for each person, like customize?
Yeah, good question. So, um, I have a few different offerings. Every lesson that I do for someone, I'll prepare something in advance that's custom to their needs. And then as I work with people over longer periods of time, I get a better sense of what I think it is that they would benefit from. And then, of course, if they have any specific interests, I'm always happy to start there. Yeah, I have more information on my website, different packages and breakdowns of cost and whatnot. But yeah, I really
Okay.
enjoy it. It's nice to help people work through
And
their process.
and you're probably great at it, especially with all
I hope so.
this.
I
Yeah,
think so.
I would think so as far as so there is an initial evaluation or assessment of where somebody's at and where you can help them, like getting
Typically, yeah. I mean, some people come and they're like, "I want help with this," and it's like, "Okay, well, there we go. Let's just do that." But I mean, I always want to talk to someone for some period of time before I work together with them. But yeah, just getting a sense of where they're at the starting point, it's definitely important.
okay. And would you do anything differently with a female than a male poker player? Or is it more based on other things?
No, I mean, just really dependent on what they would want. I don't have like sort of stock or default approaches
Okay.
or plans for men versus women.
Okay. Awesome. And you would if somebody was having like emotional or energetic or confidence issues, you would not refer them to a mindset coach. You would probably work with it because you're familiar with that stuff, correct or no?
I would definitely take a crack at it. I think that I'm pretty good at helping people work through those things because I've done it myself. But if I felt like I was out of my depth, I try not to have any ego about this. Like I've referred potential students to other coaches I thought were better fits, and I just want people to get the best experience out of it. And if I think I'm the right person for them, then that's great, and I welcome the opportunity to work together. And if not, then yeah, again, I'm really not about trying to put the square peg in the round hole. If it's not
Right.
meant to be, like, that's just totally fine. It's a big universe. I'm never
Mhm.
really one to
Yeah.
sweat the little things.
Yeah. And that's the sign of a true great practitioner, I think, is somebody who is not run by ego, but being of service to the other person.
whole
And
point of it is just to be able to offer what you have to someone else.
yeah, well, in all the worlds, there's people who are about the money grab and they're in fear and whatever. And there's
Right.
people who are in the flow, which I'm going to say that. I like that. Um,
Good to be
thank,
the
yeah, it's great to be in the flow. Thank you so much. Ladies,
You're very welcome.
I can recommend Andrew for coaching. I'm sure he's had coaching. You've had coaching, right?
Maybe not in quite the same way that I offer coaching, but I've had many poker friends over the years of whom I've collaborated with to better understand the game. So yeah, I mean, we're all
Yeah.
sort of coaching one another in various ways.
Like mentoring. Yeah. Yep.
Definitely. I definitely had some mentors when I was starting out in poker. And to that extent, I'm always interested in the younger generation because I believe that they should outperform me and my generation. It just sort of is the natural way of things, right? Like if you're younger, you have the insights of the previous generation and your own sort of motivation to excel and succeed.
Yes. I love that. We should be they should do better than we do. So
Yeah, I
yes,
always think that.
for everybody watching, definitely reach out to Andrew. Do you like Lucky Chewy or Andrew better?
Either. Yeah. I mean, in poker, basically everyone knows me as Chewy. My website is luckychewy.com. So it's fitting.
Okay, go to luckychewy.com, say hi if you see him. Now you kind of know him a little better, and try the app and let me know what you think about it. And thank you so much. I'm going to go and look for May 2nd, the event up at Mount Charleston. That sounds amazing. It's all on the website. And if you have a problem with the payment, you can let Andrew know.
Yeah, I actually haven't posted the event to the website because I figured it would just get sold out in relatively short order, but that seems to both have not been true and probably caused me more issues. So I probably should put it up there. But yeah, I can.
If it's sold out, you could always add another day a month later or something, right?
The World Series starts the next month. I did consider that though. I'm like, oh, if it goes well, I think it will. I mean, the goal is just to have a fun day, and I
Sounds
feel very confident. Yeah, I think it'll be great. The weather should be awesome that time of year.
Is
Up
it
in the
a weekend?
mountains. Yeah, it's a Saturday.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to go look at it too. It sounds very cool. So I think it will be great. Selling out is a great problem, and cross that when it happens. Post it.
Yeah.
And or I'll let you maybe right when this is going to come out. I'm going to edit it as fast as I can and get it up there, and go watch your other one as soon as I can too. And I'll have all the links and everything in the description. Did I miss something you said just now? Sorry.
No, I just said I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you so much. And hopefully we can have you on again for a new topic at some point. And maybe I'll see you May 2nd. That sounds awesome.
Sounds good. I had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me, Julie. Wish you all the best.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. We're at all the socials at the Queens of Poker, so join us and don't forget to tell your friends we're all in for women in poker.